everybody. It's Karen Ellis here for the Crochet Crowd. How are you doing? Nice to see people have logged on already on our YouTube channel, the Crochet Crowd, and also on Facebook. I understand the Crochet Crowd is live on Facebook as well today. And we are here with Mashelle. Hello, Mashelle.
Hi, everyone.
Yes, I know Michael's going to be coming online. Oh, there he is. It's almost like you know, he pops in.
I do what I'm told.
Hi, Mikey.
Hi there. I'm trying to figure out the best orientation for us. There we go.
There, how lovely. Look at us. Okay. So Mashelle is here. Mashelle is from Los Angeles, California area.
LA.
Yep.
Yeah, LA. So there's some stuff. Mashelle, introduce yourself to everybody. So, and then please feel free. I don't want to give away the whole stuff going on with the winds and that. So let's give a little, preamble here just to make sure everybody's online. But hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mashelle. I'm from Los Angeles. We're in the middle of our second huge windstorm in the last week and a half. So if my internet drops, please be advised of that. We've been fine all day and for the last couple of days, but last week when it was really bad with the other two fires raging, we got cut for a couple hours. So it's just a preamble warning, but yeah.
Yes, we're hoping that you stay online and that you stay safe and all those other things. So it's been a little crazy down where you are.
Very much so.
Crochet and kind of
well, Mashelle, we're kind of here in the Maritimes. We're used to being blown.
Oh, for heaven's sake. That's the South Shore people. We have the Bay of So yeah. So Mashelle, it was a pleasure talking with you earlier as well. As you know, and anybody who has registered for this to talk to Michael, I kind of have like a pre-chat with everyone. So it was so nice getting to know you, and you do a little bit different things than the other guests that we've had here today, and I'm really looking forward to having the conversation with Michael. So, Michael, I know you're going to poof me in a second.
Well, you can poof yourself now.
I got the privileges, everybody.
I know.
Powers. Is that a hint? I have to poof myself. All right, Mashelle. Michael. Hello, everyone.
So Karen's gone, and not yet, but she will be. And you're in. Okay, your name is spelled really interesting, like mashed potatoes.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. When I was born, on my birth certificate, my mom spelled it the normal M-I-C-H. My dad was like, "Why are you naming my daughter Michael?" So my mom changed it to phonetic. My grandpa, though, picked it up and then later started calling me mashed potato, and thus you see the potato heads behind me.
Oh my God, that's
I'm
fun.
a huge collector of Mr. Potato Heads. So that, I have probably several hundred of them, clothing included. But oddly enough, I thought about this earlier today. I've never crocheted a Mr. Potato Head doll.
Well, I'm thinking more of a potato blanket.
Well, or that too. But I've never done either. But I'm more of an amigurumi person than I am a blanket person.
Sure.
Granted, I used to love, and I still do crochet blankets and scarves and hats and stuff like that. But my favorite by far, and I blame it on you, is amigurumi. Yeah, wow. About 10 years ago, you did a crochet along of a giraffe.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with it. And the idea of making something more three-dimensional than flat definitely got me moving and grooving with it. And since then, it's very hard for me not to crochet amigurumi.
I love amigurumi. I just hate sewing on the parts.
I agree with you on this. So lately it's been a lot of no-sew.
Oh. Now I saw a cheating technique on the Instagram Reels last night of some woman doing hot glue. And I've done that on the nutcrackers, the big ones, because I'm like, I'm not sewing this shit together. And I thought, because my stuff really never goes to a kid. It's all just ornamental.
Right. It's the same thing for me. The safety eyes, the sewing, everything. If it's going to a kid, it's all safe.
Sure.
But it's still that idea of I try not to have to glue, but I like you. I sit there with all the pieces in a box, and then I wait and wait and wait till it has to be given away, and then I sew it together.
I'm just hoping it can sew itself together and walk the hell out of my house.
I do have a neighbor the other day that she said, because she crochets like I do, and she loves amigurumi too as much. She's like, if you don't want to sew it together, just give me the parts and I'll take care of it for you.
Oh, that's a good neighbor.
I'm like, don't tempt me, because you never know.
So you're gonna ship her all these body parts.
Exactly. And I'm like, here, this is what it should look like. Here's all the pieces.
Oh
Go.
my God, you should totally fuck with her mind and put something in the box that she would never expect.
Have way too much fun with it.
Yeah, we did an amigurumi thing for Stranded in Madagascar, after the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody actually did the skeleton, which I still have, that was hanging from the tree.
Okay.
And I'm like, all those body parts and everything, and it still has its parachute on and the whole 9 yards. But if I got something like that in a box, that would like totally freak me out. Yeah.
Especially the skeleton parts. That's scary.
Yeah. I'm more scared of the sewing, honestly. Yeah. So, okay. So you got started with the giraffe. So the giraffe was actually a Red Heart idea, because I really never done amigurumi. And so they wanted me to take a UK pattern and convert it over to American language. And so it was my first ever pattern ever doing that. And I was like, and so the original was only supposed to be about this tall, but the big one, because kind of a size queen, who doesn't like a long neck? And
especially giraffes.
Yeah. And it was fun. And I think it was a mystery, right? You guys didn't know what you were doing.
Yep. And it was cool because it started with like the feet, and I had just feet hanging around for a week, and then some ears, and the long neck part didn't come until like I think the last one. So you didn't really know what you were crocheting till the end.
Honestly, if you saw the body and you did the body with the neck, you would think, based on who I am, that the next part is going to be 2 blue balls. Right?
Very much so.
Yeah, but I was with the Red Heart at the time, so I'm like, I think I gotta play it safe, and But anyway, that was kind of my first ever. And then I started doing other stuff. It's just sewing that really turns me off.
I understand that.
Yeah. So would you like to see another mystery? Because I've been thinking about it, like maybe grabbing an old vintage pattern from Yarn Inspirations and doing another mystery. But I just don't like going through the crap of people saying, "Oh, I wish I knew what it was."
No, I love the idea that it's the mystery. It kind of builds that surprise in there, and especially since I picked my colors and I made them weird, and they weren't weird and obnoxious, but they were definitely not what you would have at Giraffe B. They were pinks and yellows and grays because it was going to my niece when she was born, so that was one of the gifts for her birth. So I made it girly colors a little, but it was nice to have a giraffe that wasn't a normal giraffe color. So being able to have that freedom and that fun in there is definitely important with it.
One of the things that I struggle with, which nobody really comprehends, is that I have to stay within a certain color palette, because I have to stay within what's available to the public.
Right.
So even if Bernat has a yarn that I really love and I love the color, if there's no stock at Yarn Inspirations to be able to offer it, I have to stay away from it. And sometimes I think that limits creativity.
It does. But it still makes it fun to be able to do stuff like that and to make your own color palettes and everything. Absolutely. I really enjoy that.
Yeah. Now, if say that the one arm is not matching the other arm, is that something that would drive you nuts?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
I listened last week to your podcast, and I was definitely one of the perfectionists where I will undo like 20 rows if I notice something wrong just to get back to where it's wrong and fix it. Yeah. I actually did. I'm working on a GraphGAN right now that I can't talk much about because who it's for is here listening. Because it's a present for a wedding. But the GraphGAN, I went back 31 rows to fix a problem, and then I'm finally back past where it was.
Jeez. So Karen's already joining us now.
I am, because I am here to tell you that I would not go back and fix that, and it drives Michael crazy.
I'm a fixer. Yeah. I got to be perfectionist about it.
Oh my gosh, no! It's part of the unique characteristic of the homemade craft.
But it's got to be perfect.
Oh, whatever. But you know what? I really wanted you to. BB just reacted to me there. I really wanted you to talk about too about how I want you to be able to do it, and I want to prompt you here. So you have a little thing where people can leave you things and then they all of a sudden show up.
Yeah. So
and I think that kind of plays with the mystery a little bit, and as well as kind of the diversity that you do. And I loved that about your story. So kind of feed that to him to see how he feels about it, because anyway, okay, I'm bye.
Bye.
She comes and goes around so fast, I tell you.
She's back already.
I gave her the power. Now I'm regretting the power. Okay, so what's going on with this mystery stuff?
So I'm a teacher, and whenever students give me yarn or drop things off on my desk, it magically appears crocheted into something. As an example, I had a student before Christmas break who got a ferret, one of those crochet. It's not a wooble, but it was a different one of those type things. And she's like, I can't figure this out. So I said, drop it on my desk and it will magically appear on your desk one day, done. And it did. And then she named it, and now it's actually in her backpack, and she's carrying it around school doing that. And
That's
any kid that
cool.
gives me yarn gets a crocheted item back from me. And it's always an amigurumi.
Oh, that's so cool. I like traveling with the amigurumi in my backpack, having the thing pop out. Went to Europe. We called it, oh my God, I don't even think I've ever said this in public, but it was a mouse. It was we called it Antonio the mouse. We took it to Venice with us. And we told people that it was in search of Jesus. But it was fun. We got told to put the mouse away when we were in the churches, out of respect completely.
Right.
It was just hanging out of my backpack. And so they told me to tuck it in while I was going in churches and stuff. But I love that stuff. It's just fun. It makes people smile.
It does. And to me, it's so important that, especially with teenagers, because I teach high school, mental health. And this is definitely, and I was talking to Karen about this last week, that idea that crocheting is becoming so much more popular among the youth to where and we talked about the idea of like Taylor Swift and stuff like that, and bringing it back into the limelight and that popularity with the kids. And like to the point yesterday where a student of mine actually at the end of class pulled out the skirt she was crocheting. And like for the last 2 minutes of class was crocheting, and I just went berserk. I'm like, oh my gosh, yarn. And I ran up and like had to touch it and hold it and all of that stuff. But it's that connection and being able to see with the kids and helping them to calm down. And for me, it's the same way. It's about my mental health. I want to be able to, if I get angry and upset, I'll pull out a crochet hook and I'll work on a project for a few minutes, and it centers me and calms me down. So I highly encourage it with my kids.
So I never had kids, so I don't really have the perspective that you do, but I see perspective on what I see people chatting about that stuff online. What is your biggest obstacle that you would wish you could change with teaching the younger generation at this time?
Social media.
Mm-hmm.
By far. It's that influence. I didn't grow up with that influence. And the school was definitely different back 30 years ago when I was in high school, and seeing that, the bullying, the expectations, the drink this, do this, look like this, that the mental health is so much more important with our teenagers now because of that external influence of social media.
I agree. Daniel and I were talking last night. We had a very deep conversation last night. And so my drive to crochet was because I was in a bad spot. And I said, the kids today have it far worse because of social media, because I had the bullying and stuff, but the bullying stopped as soon as I left the school grounds. But with social media, I think it just continues like in this person's head over and over, and you can't take your eyes off their damn phone.
Well, and it's part of it is because at home you can still see it. When you and I were in school and we used to go home, you went home.
Yeah.
You didn't have that going on in the class. You didn't have it going on campus. But now you take it home.
But what's even so the question's coming in. What grade are you teaching?
I teach 11th grade English.
Okay. I had the most amazing 11th grade English teacher. She actually, I had her for 2 years straight. I had her for grade 12 as well. Totally. You as a teacher makes such a huge difference. Like, it's more than just crochet. Like, it's amazing what I remember from that teacher, like all these years later. But then you remember the terrible teachers too.
Oh boy, do I.
But it's really the good teachers that really kind of shape you who you are.
Well, and
Right.
all of my favorite teachers in high school were my English teachers. So I think that's kind of what pushed me to be. I always knew I was going to be a teacher, but I think that's what kind of pushed me in the idea of being an English teacher. But it's that freedom of expression more so with the English than with another subject that I really connect with, and being able to have those conversations with the kids that you can't have necessarily as a math or science teacher.
Now, I will share with my thing after I ask you yours first. You went to school for your teaching. You come into real life. What was your very first moment that you knew you were in the right spot at the right time?
I really didn't even hit to like year 2 or 3. Like the first year was tears, like beyond, like every day. And I tell all new teachers, because I've been doing this for 21 years, if you can make it to year 3, you're meant to be a teacher. But it's getting past those first 2 years. But that idea of the connection with the students, that first student who came into at recess or lunch and sat down and said, "Hey, can I eat with you? Can we talk?" And then I knew that I'd made that connection with the student, and then I built on it from there.
That's amazing. I teach people online, as you know, but my real moment was actually last year. Actually, my first moment where I literally stood in front of a group of people and I paused and I felt in my brain I was in the right spot at the right moment of my life, and everything that had happened to me put me to be standing right at that moment. So even though I get a lot of positive messaging, I think sometimes it just hits you when you realize that you're in the right spot at the right time.
It's like I was meant to do this.
Yes. Yeah. So you've been teaching a long time. Have you run into any students as a grown person and they've grown up?
Very much so. I've had several that have reached back out or come back to campus to visit after college. Even ones that have had kids, gotten married, been invited to a wedding or two. And it's just weird. It's surreal seeing that grown up student and seeing them as an adult with a husband and a family. And it's weird.
But it's also a privilege too, right? Like it's
is.
You help shape that person for that moment of time.
And the fact that they remember me, 15, 20 years later is still, it's heartwarming to see that with the kids.
Now, I was in a craft show actually a few years ago, and this lady was talking about her yarn she was dyeing, and I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. And I said, I'm actually from Ontario, and I'm from this little town of nowhere. And she goes, I have my cousin is actually in a town of nowhere, exactly where you are. And I'm like, oh, she goes, and she was a school teacher. And I'm like, okay. So anyway, so I was telling her about this grade 5 teacher that I had that was just so remarkable. She's the one that got me into the yarn. My mom propelled me further. But anyway, it turns out she was the cousin of the teacher, and my teacher was still alive. Because when you're young, you think these teachers are as old as shit. And I literally cried because this woman had made such a difference that you never know what happens to these teachers when you move away. And it was just so powerful. So she got me in touch, and I was able to talk to my teacher because some things happened. I had her for 2 years, and some things happened while I was in those 2 years. And I said, I have been living nightmares for, I don't know, like 30 some odd years over a situation that happened in the classroom. And she says, I saw it too. And I'm like, I have lived with these nightmares for years. And to have a teacher or somebody that was in that spot at that moment and saw what I saw to validate you that you were not crazy, all my nightmares that I had carried with me were gone. And it was so phenomenal. Like, you guys make such a huge difference with these kids.
That validation is important.
Absolutely.
And being able to connect with them is even more important. It's almost like, yes, the education has to be there, but that connection and that validation is even more important sometimes than the content that you're teaching them.
Absolutely. Because, you can have a therapist and say, yeah, I totally understand. But to have somebody that was actually there Is like, and it's like you weren't reading into something, and as a grade 4 or 5 student, it's just like, you just don't know what's real at that point, because at that time you still think your parents are a superhero until you start getting older and you realize they're as faulty as the rest of us. So so student wise, what has any one student in all of these years have stood out to you?
I don't have favorites, and I tell my students that all the time. But there's definitely
it's a secret.
This is so not secret, because some of them are probably watching right now. But I definitely have ones that I've connected more so with. Like last year, he was a huge Lana Del Rey fan. And I actually ended up pulling him as my Secret Santa. And so I actually crocheted him a Lana Del Rey doll. But being able to make that connection, and then he cried as he opened it, he was crying, and that connection and just seeing that type of attitude with the students is definitely what I enjoy the most. I'm not going to tell you names. I'm not going to pick a student.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
You know what? There's not a test. Somebody's commenting. They want to know what I saw because it made me emotional. I saw another teacher abusing kids. That was what I saw.
That should never happen.
It was awful. I was part of that.
School should be the safety zone.
I'm telling you, this woman's good day is just ripping everybody in every shed. I tell people that I cried in math class. It wasn't because the math was so hard. It was because I was scared as hell as this teacher. Because she would literally grab a chair, sit in front of the class, cross her legs, and say, I am not moving until people admit to stuff. And it's like, you'd have to admit to stuff that you didn't do just to let it go, just for her to get off her chair so that it would carry on. And anyway, so to her to validate that, because honestly, my nightmares were living in the cruelty of this teacher that I had.
And to have a teacher be, no.
It was
access to kids.
Yep. But what are you going to do? You're just a kid, and and things are very different. At that time, we have one computer in the whole school, and it was the Apple that got moved around.
It was probably on a cart that wheeled from class to class.
It was, and it was. I think sometimes the new generation, based on the messaging that I get, like I kind of made a joke on the phone calls this week. I'm like, you're 22, you have access to the whole library. You don't actually have to figure out how you're going to get your ass to a library to be able to look up something. And I somehow think, even in our generation, we're older, but we're not stupid people, that literally their phone is your library at this point. And I don't think people realize how powerful that is.
Well, and just teaching them how to use that power responsibly is the important part.
Yes. Yeah. But I don't know how you control it, because I think even for me, like if I'm getting bored with a conversation, I'll pick up the phone and scroll. Don't tell Karen though, because I might do that to her. But I think she does it to me too, so I think it's a fair thing.
And of course, here she comes.
But I do have the power to get rid of her.
Like, too. I don't know.
Yeah, she knows when I'm disconnecting because I start scrolling. But I think I don't, because I never really had a cell phone until like a few years ago. Like I never had one for years. So anyway, I
was a late bloomer with phones too. I didn't get it till like 22, 23 years ago. And that was late for phones.
Oh my God. I got mine up to 2015.
My husband works in tech, and only got it because the company he started working for 12 years ago didn't have phones in the office, and he had to have one. So it's all good. I know it hasn't been said in the chat yet, but I would love to see some of the things you've been working on crochet wise. And part of it is, Michael, I know that she's been collecting and has a whole thing set up for herself there.
Oh, fun.
I was very much trying not to show it earlier, and Karen saw one because I was just excited. So
okay.
Pooh.
She's actually just my neighbor. I can see her house from here. Okay, so first thing.
This is my pound puppy that I made for my best friend's son.
Are you showing your age with a pound puppy?
Well, he loves pound puppies. He collects them, and he's 9 years old. And he has all these like different sizes of them, but he didn't have a crochet one. So I actually made one in his favorite color.
Oh my
He didn't
God.
know I was making it, but I knew his favorite color was purple. The purple and red are his favorite colors, but red didn't really go with it. But yeah, this was his birthday present. He didn't like the fact that I asked his mom if I could steal it for a couple days because he sleeps
You
with his
took
pound
this poor
puppies.
kid's pound puppy.
Yeah, but I mean, I know that's 80s and it's not the 80s, but he loves pound puppies.
Oh my God, you're totally getting off the Christmas list next year.
The other thing is my husband is a huge Star Wars fan. So
Okay.
a lot of Star Wars stuff gets crocheted in our house. I'm not a Star Wars fan, but he definitely is a Star Wars fan. So we have Grogu and Yoda.
Oh my God. Rogu's bigger than Yoda.
He is, but this is also like a finger puppet. So it's got
Well,
the
that
hole
explains
inside.
why your fingers are up its backside.
Yeah, and it's been my fidget while we've been talking.
You're doing a fidget with a Yoda?
I got a fidget.
I don't think I can make fidget things like that.
Exactly.
Sorry, I'll leave again.
There's Mandalorian.
Oh, this is the way.
Yeah, and
did he like that? Did he like that series?
Yes, I liked that one too. So it's one of the few of the Star Wars ones I actually liked.
Yeah, I have a hard time with it because I feel like some of the backstory is getting ruined the more they keep adding to it. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, yeah. I don't know. It's like Spider-Man. How many times can you do the damn story? Okay, so what's next?
BB-8.
Oh, that's fun.
This was an interesting pattern. I hated the sewing on this.
How'd you do the circle on there?
Well, I sewed the circle individually. And then left 4 long pieces along the way. And then you talk about sewing on this. This is horrible. You had to actually sew each individual. So I had to sew the circle on and then had to do the embroidery of the 4 different parts. I hated it. And I had to do this 5 times. You wouldn't have done it.
Oh, I wouldn't have, because those circles would not have been in the right spot. And I would have taken that thing and heaved it in the garbage so fast.
Yeah. Another one I did freehand. I don't normally do freehand. Usually I follow patterns. But I did Baymax.
Oh, Baymax, yes. I like that story.
He is glued. The eyes are glued. And because he was staying home. He wasn't going anywhere. So I cheated with this one. So his eyes are glued on. His little heart piece is glued on. All of the spots. There was no way I was sewing, considering it was like my prototype on can I freehand crochet something.
It's kind of funny. It reminded me of American Pie when the guy glues himself. I've been glued. Anyway, that's my own. Okay, that's my 12-year-old humor. So I better smarten up before Karen comes back. So, okay, go ahead. Are we cutting out?
I'm not sure if it's you cutting out or if it's me cutting out. Okay. But there is cutting.
Okay, so let's keep on going. What's next?
Those are the ones I have.
Okay.
So next to me, because most of them leave my house. So I've done cheetahs and foxes. Usually it's an animal of some kind that gets made for the students. The last one was a ferret. Teddy bears are another popular one that get made for the students in fun colors. Like I made a pink, like 3-toned pink teddy bear last year for a student as she was graduating, because that's the yarn that showed up.
Okay. That's kind of neat. They're giving you yarn and then it shows up. So there's almost, I always tell parents, if they're going to teach their kid to crochet, have some ownership. So the kid chooses the color. And if they're going to choose a yarn that you really cannot play with, you just got to be very convinced and say, this is pretty cool, but this is kind of better. And this is why. And then you end up doing the good stuff, like, especially if it's black or if it's a fluffy yarn or something that's just not great.
Well, and I will add to it with other colors, or sometimes I will just be like, this color wasn't going to work as an animal, or this type of yarn, like you said, the fluffy stuff. If it doesn't work, I will put that aside and I'll replace it with other colors instead, or other types of yarn instead.
So a question has come in from the audience. Doesn't have Velcro. You can see that? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I can see the question. He does not have a Velcro inside bottom.
Well,
I didn't even think about that.
Honestly, I wouldn't have either.
Now I got to go back and fix it.
she can't sit with us.
Completely forgot about that.
Hi, I'm back. But speaking of the pound and puppies, what else may you have to chat about?
I have a puppy, or not a puppy. He's a 4-year-old.
It's all good. I know she's got a puppy, and it's all good. But I love it. Sorry, okay. You should not give me powers, Michael.
No, I think we're gonna rethink this strategy, Karen. Okay, so you got a puppy.
He's about 4 years old. He's a German Shepherd. He started out by liking to carry my yarn to places, but that got stopped pretty quickly. And now he just cuddles with me when I crochet.
Oh, that's cute. It's kind of nice.
His name is Moxie. He's actually he's sitting too far away right now, or I'd show you.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, my dogs don't stay down here. They're glued to Daniel's thighs.
Oh no, mine's glued to my side. He is definitely my dog.
So okay, so you're from LA. I'm trying to rethink.
Fires.
So how close were you to the fires?
The Palisades fire about 15 miles. Eaton even further, like 30 miles, and the Hughes right now is about 15 miles. So I can see them on the hills around us because I'm in the middle of a valley. But we didn't actually, me personally was not impacted. I had friends that were impacted, students, teachers, lost houses. School was canceled for 3 days.
So this, I think I can talk openly on this group. I hope I can. We'll find out pretty fast with the comments. But that I'm from Canada, and in Canada the news is blocked on Facebook.
Right.
So if you guys post a link and you're American, we never see it up here. It's empty. It doesn't exist. But somebody emailed me about are we doing anything for the fires? And I'm like, I knew about the fire.
Right.
But I had not seen anything humanitarian other than the politicians fighting about whose responsibility it is. And everything about the fire and the people getting displaced and the burned down homes is missing from the algorithm.
I actually talked to Karen about this last week in the pre-interview. One thing that I saw that post of yours, and I was very much drawn to it. I didn't comment on it because I didn't want to get in that whole political world of things. But definitely, like when the hurricane happened last year in North Carolina, there were tons of posts like churches like send us scarves, hats, and I did.
I saw nothing for North Carolina.
And I did a lot of the stuff for North Carolina, threw it in a box, sent off a box. But in LA, it's more about I need the product, not necessarily because they have nothing.
Yes.
So there's no structures, there's nothing in those areas. So a lot of organizations have said, bring me hygiene products, bring me clothes, boxed foods and stuff like that. So there hasn't been things or calls for crochet items like there was with North Carolina.
Just stand by for a second. Puppy dog wants to. Other way. Go outside. Go see. Yeah. So I was telling Daniel about this, and I said we're kind of living in this bubble, but in social media, and this is again what we talked about at the beginning of the show, is that the social media, your realm and your circle is really limited to what the algorithm wants to show you. And I felt like, holy shit, like I never even considered that they even need help because they never saw anything.
Right.
And it was just, I'm very conflicted about that because it's very easy to live in a bubble.
But it's also very easy to know too much.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, there's an app here that we use called Watch Duty, and every 5 seconds it was giving us notifications of this area is evacuated, this area is evacuated. So the stress around it too. Yes, it's an emergency. Yes, you got to prepare and everything. No problems with that. But it's very much stress inducing, even more being more aware of the situation sometimes.
Yes. So, yeah. So anyway, I talked to Karen in detail about this. Is like, it's very difficult to want to get in and react. But one of the things when we moved to Nova Scotia, Houston was went through a hurricane and a massive flood. and I think it was Houston. And anyway, I told Daniel if we're moving, I do not want to live close to water. But but times have changed to the point where you only see what you see. And because I don't have TV, because it's very expensive here. Canada's expensive, so you gotta do the best you can. But unless you go and actively look for it, then you'll find it, right?
Right.
Yeah. So okay, so are you involved in anything like helping these people? Are you doing anything?
We actually fostered a dog over the weekends, with that intention of, because there were a lot of dogs in the shelter, so we were trying to do our due diligence and let's see if we can find one that will fit with our dog. Unfortunately, it didn't fit, and she was rather sick, so we took her back. We have tried volunteering with the World Central Kitchen, but all the volunteer spots are taken.
Good. Hey, that's a great problem to have.
It is, and I'm glad that the spots are taken. And I'd rather have that problem than not have enough volunteers. But that's one thing that LA has been great about. It has been banding together to help those that are in need now. So it's just done through volunteer work and dropping off products, other than actually crocheting stuff.
So share with me. So how are they? Because I don't see it. Like, is it through the media or social media? Is it just people stepping forward and saying, "What can I do?"
So, and especially you see most of it through social media, or like especially like the dog shelters, all came across and said, "Hey, we need to help these dogs and these cats and other animals. We need more fosters, we need more adopters," and people just flooded the shelters to come help out the animals. They even started shipping the animals out to like Utah, to be adopted at other shelters, because we had such an influx because people, instead of, I don't know how people do it, but I could not just open the door and let my dog out. And some people did that. They just, because it was hard to, at an emergency, take your animal sometimes with you. So like even horses, open the barn door, let the horses out. So the horses and the animals were running through the streets and everything. So there are a lot of those that ended up in shelters.
The only humanitarian story I saw was a woman that had returned home. Her house was burnt to ground and her sheep were in the backyard waiting for her. And she is sobbing, and I sobbed along with her, because I don't think her house was as important as those sheep.
Right.
And that the fact that they were standing there waiting for her because they had gone off, I was just like, wow. But I know for myself is that Salty and Puppy Dog are so bloody stubborn that I'd be very concerned in that situation to be able to get them into the car and out. It'd be very.
Mine would pull like crazy because mine's a puller, but he definitely clings to me. So if I open that garage door, he's moving. Open that car door, and he'd be in it in a heartbeat.
Karen, can you get a hold of Shannon and just tell her to just stand by? That's what's beeping. So there. Okay, so you're into Amigurumi. So you got the. Okay, so what else? What else is on your mind tonight?
I don't know. Blankets. I started crocheting when I was 5. My mom grabbed my hands, and I haven't looked back. She used to crochet doilies and lace in front of me, and I was so fascinated by it that I asked if I could crochet. So she put a hook in my hand and showed me how to crochet my first single crochet. But I had to chain forever. For like a week or two, all she would let me do is chain. And until the chain looked perfect, you weren't allowed to do other stitches.
Do you agree with that in retrospect, or?
I do, because the chain is, if you don't have a good chain to start as the foundation, you are not going to have a good blanket or scarf or hat. You definitely need that first part to be even to build on the rest.
I was teaching crochet at this one show, and this woman had really long hair. And anyway, but I never saw her project at all because her hair is in front of her. And anyway, she lifted up her head, and she had crocheted her hair right into her little doily. And anyway, she took her hands off of her project, and it was hanging in the bangs of her hair. And she says, "Is this okay?" And I said, "You're damn right it is." If you can't tell that it shouldn't be on your hair, I'll just go with it. So, and that's why I can't get certified. Sorry, go ahead.
New hair design.
It is. I can't get certified in crochet because I am so lax that way. Because I think with crochet, sometimes I just let people just find their own way. Because when you go and teach these people, like everybody's holding the hook in a different way and different tension. And it's like, I don't want to be that person that ruins a craft because they're not doing it the way that the professionals do it.
Right.
You know?
And I don't hold my hook like the professionals do.
Show us.
I don't have a hook next to me.
Get a pen.
Get a pen. Here we go. I actually hold it like it's a pen.
Oh my God.
So the way I crochet, it's a little weird.
You're
sometimes.
like picking at it. You're picking at it.
And every time I like try and like move it differently, but it's like I'm holding a pen is how I crochet. And my tension is only just one piece of yarn over, and I see the people sometimes like wrap and wrap and wrap. Or
I don't understand
like, all
that.
4 fingers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it. I can't do it.
Mm-hmm. Oh well, I don't know how they don't get yarn burn from that.
Yeah. And I definitely like that one spot on my finger. If I'm crocheting a lot, it will be drier than other spots, but it's definitely important for me just to have the one. I have to be able to pull freely.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The way that I hold my stuff is the way my mom showed me. And people said, well, you got to change your way. I'm like, my mom wasn't wrong on everything. And it works for me. So what the hell with it?
If it works for you, then why change it?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And my hands, when they close, they actually close. Where I find sometimes in the workshops, people have big ass rings. And so they have a big ass ring and therefore their hands can't close. And therefore their tension is compromised. But, trying to ply off a wedding ring that's been on there for 50 years isn't going to happen.
No, it's not. They're not going to want to take it off anyway.
No, hell with that. No. So you got to find your way. It's like with the knitting though, I do wrap it around my pinky twice because I saw it done, and I can knit faster because of that. But if I try it crochet wise, I can't.
I can't knit.
It's okay. It's boring.
I've tried. I tried because I grew up with one needle. Putting a second needle in there it's like catastrophe. I can't do it. My sister-in-law not crochet, she knits like crazy, but I am a crocheter.
The biggest travesty that I've knit crochet, that's always the thing. Do you knit or crochet? And it's like you get looked down on if you are a knitter and you don't crochet, or vice versa. And so I decided during the pandemic to teach myself to knit because I really wanted to have my own knit hat instead of buying one at a craft show. Not that I have an issue with buying one at a craft show, but I really wanted to learn how to do it. And I realized that crocheters and knitters are so busy comparing the craft to each other that they're not even they're not even the same thing. They're not. It's not even the same journey. It's not the same energy. It's completely a different craft.
It is.
We just use we just use the same product.
And there have been some knit things that I've seen that I've like, I want to try that, but it would not end out even close to the cast on and cast off. Forget it.
Yeah. I think if I was to knit though, I'd have to do a sampler because I think I can only do so many knitting stitches before I'm like, and that's why all my blanket stuff is all samplers because I get bored. It just kicks in.
Right.
Yeah.
I do too. That's why I have like 5 or 6 projects going at the same time. It's just because I get bored with the bigger projects, which is why the amigurumi is what propels me the most, is because like if I'm making a blanket right now, which I have 2 blankets on hooks right now, I will also be making something else. Right now I actually don't have an amigurumi on hook because I have to get this blanket done for the wedding.
So are you feeling pressure with that, or is it a good pressure? Or
it's a good pressure because this is normal for me. Like for weddings, baby showers, this is my normal gift, is a blanket. And the blanket has some symbolic meaning within it. And I'm very careful about what I do and how I do it and everything to make it fit the couple. And I think this one's going to be my most special.
Now, it's interesting you say that. One of the things I notice in craft shows is that people will say, I got this shit piece of yarn. I'm just going to make a thing and I'm going to sell it. And I think some of the travesty in the craft shows is that you don't always consider what the customer wants and what you're talking about there, that you're doing it so specific for that couple that blanket can't be transferred to somebody else.
Right.
So, and I think sometimes we miss that.
It's that same thing whenever I make anything for someone. It's because I know that this will be what they want. When I made a Tinkerbell for my mother-in-law, when I made a Lilo and Stitch for my sister, those are them. The pound puppy for my nephew. It's that same stuff. It's who they are.
Mm-hmm. Looks like you have a question there. Karen's brought it up on screen. So do you have
The pound puppy. I did buy a pattern to use for it. Sometimes I will do that. Usually I use free patterns, but there wasn't one for a pound puppy that I could find because it's such an old item. I actually had to dig and dig and dig, and it was one that I had to pay for.
You know, I know. I like this idea of free, but sometimes what we're looking for, somebody's already done the math
Right.
and already done the whole thing. You just got to pay the $5-10 that it is.
And I'm happy to do it if it supports their craft and their art, and I will just recreate it. Definitely do it.
Now, I did hear that, and not a lot of people buy patterns, and based on what I saw with the latest one that we have, I kind of agree with that. There's a lot of people that prefer the free patterns, but sometimes when it's so special, like just expecting it free is really a tough pill to swallow. And yet Karen just bought something for $1.99 because it was just a bloody leaf. And it was like, oh, she's going to come on. I can just feel it already. But
she probably could have done it freehand.
She really wanted that leaf. And for $1.99, she didn't have to think about anything.
Right? I wasn't going to until you said she's going to come on. Yeah. Okay. So yes, I did, but I loved it. And I felt that I was going to use it in a piece of my art, and I might as well, for $1.99, I was thrilled not to have to figure it out myself, and support the person who created that, and 100% behind that. So yes, it's all good.
It was like the Lana Del Rey doll I made last year. Definitely was a purchased pattern.
I don't even know who that is.
Oh, see, Michael, you're showing your age.
What's the name?
Lana Del Rey.
Lana, how do you spell that?
Lana space DEL space REY.
Is it a drag queen?
No.
Oh, that's Bianca Del Rio. Sorry.
I was gonna say
no. She sang music for the Gatsby movie, the Great Gatsby, the more recent Great Gatsby movie.
And I was just going to say, it's also not so much showing your age. It's also, I think it's also working with youth. I work with youth as well, and so I am familiar with. So
very much in the know with the current trends. I don't want to follow them, but you hear about them and see about them all the time. So it definitely ends up coming across my desk.
Yeah.
I don't recognize her.
No.
Yeah.
But the curly hair on that was it was worth it in the end.
I bought a pattern for our friend Cindy, one of our GKs, our Greenwich kids, for our Friday night supper club, and she loved it. But I bought that pattern, and it was, for those who understand football, it was a Patrick Mahomes hat. So it was all his curls with his Kansas City Chiefs head. Yeah, anyway, I bought that.
She's been wearing it to bed, and Cindy's wife is not happy.
And it gave me such joy that she loves it so much. But there are special things like your pound puppy. There are things that it's a no-brainer. And yes, my $1.99 leaf is just fine. Thank you very much, Michael.
Exactly. So what's next on your hook there, Mashelle?
Next, well, after I finish this blanket, I haven't figured out what I'm going to do next. I mean, I have another blanket that I've been making for me for 3 years that might eventually sometime get done, but probably not anytime soon. But I'm definitely looking for my next amigurumi. I just haven't figured out who I want to make it for yet, and that kind of sets the stage for it. And yarn hasn't shown up in my room or on my desk lately, so I haven't had the need. I mean, granted, trust me, I want to crochet not this blanket, but until March, this is definitely what has to be done.
So I got marching orders from Yarn Inspirations on Monday. So we're doing the next stitch along. So I am going to be working on probably preliminary of that over the weekend. But we don't know what yarn we're going to be playing with. So I have to do a prototype first and write the pattern. And then when they assign me the yarn, then I have to actually crochet the sample twice. And then I have to crochet it a third time in order to test the pattern.
That's a lot for one pattern.
Well, I think that's normal, isn't it?
With testing, and so, well, I mean, especially if you're writing the pattern, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I'm doing the crochet diagrams on top of that, which I really seriously enjoy. So anyway, so we're trying to come up with a plan whether we're going to do Christmas in July or whether we're going to do more of a fall mashup. Or do you have any ideas that where
Christmas
we should
in July would be awesome.
We just did that last year with the study of Christmas cookies.
Oh, that's right, you did.
So I'm a little on the fence whether I should do like maybe, you know how they do rectangles and then they do a section of one type of stitch and then another section of a different, but I don't know if that's boring.
I don't necessarily find it boring. What I want is more color. And but also the samplers being able to switch stitches is always a fun part because you get bored doing the same stitch over and over. And that's part of why I like amigurumi, is because by the time I'm bored with the stitch, I'm done with the piece. So even though I'm usually working in single crochets, but I like to do, when I do blankets and scarves and hats and stuff, I like different stitches and different patterns, and I like to challenge myself.
So maybe the people that are watching, maybe if you have any ideas on what you would prefer to see in a stitch along, now's the time to tell me, because I'm going to start working on something. So Karen is kidnapping me for the weekend, and we're going away for the weekend, just having a girls' weekend. Honestly, I got more booze than I do underwear with me, but and so
telling stories.
You're not going to get much crocheting done then.
Yeah, that could be true.
There's been more than a few people asking about my little leaf thing. Do you mind if I show that?
No,
is that okay?
No.
All right. So it's a little leaf thing, but it's on a very, very large canvas. Okay. So there's my leaves.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Oh, it's very painful to do that. So those are the leaves. I really liked them, and they're on a big, 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 big canvas. And sorry, it's heavy. So my canvas is very, very
huge.
That is a huge
large
canvas.
Yeah, but if you saw our house, like it's dwarfed in the house, like because she just started on 50-foot ceilings.
Stop, whatever. It's very, 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 very low. So I'm a mixed media girl. So I like to mix up all kinds of stuff. So my painting, I had yarn here because I got that Yarn Inspirations 70% off sale. And I may have tufted some of that and changed some of that and put it on my painting because it was here and I kind of had it. Yes, I will be careful. I see that. But anyway, so yeah, but my point is, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Wendy. Apparently there were questions about it on the Facebook Live. So
they're gorgeous.
She paid a whole $1.99 for that pattern.
I paid a whole $1.99.
And she was done the leaf within a matter of minutes. And I'm like, she didn't have to sit there and think, which is the best $1.99 she ever spent.
Well, if you don't have to think about it, why not? If someone else is going to figure it out for you.
Yeah. No, it's wonderful. So I'm a proponent. So I'm just really glad that you're here and you're talking about amigurumi, which is a little bit different. And I was really inspired, quite honestly, Mashelle, that you got started with amigurumi with Michael, because that is not something.
That is not my thing.
Not even everything I see from you is blankets and scarves and hats. So definitely to remember that amigurumi from 10, 11 years ago is huge.
You know what? For me, my mom showed me how to do a double crochet and a chain, and the first thing I did was a double spread bedspread. And so I think for me, doing blankets is a reflection of my mom. Right. And the nice thing about it, Mashelle, I don't got to put a damn tape measure around my waist, my tits, nothing. I bought a shirt online. I had a measure. I was not happy.
Yeah, I don't do clothes for that very reason. Granted, there are ones that I've seen that I've wanted to, but I don't want to have to do that.
Yeah, I know, because some of these clothes that you see online is like, is this a extra medium or is this actually real size?
Yeah,
Because I'm a large in Walmart, but then I'm like a 5 extra large somewhere else.
is it a China size or is it America size?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things though, Michael, is that even though you talk about your blankets and stuff, you often add the texture and you're changing up the stitches and you're doing and you are creating something that isn't flat. It's dimensional.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I can kind of see where kind of I know I'm stretching a little bit with amigurumi because it is a completely different technique, but I can see where people who enjoy amigurumi would also enjoy doing some of your blankets and other things like that as well.
It's
Yeah,
texture.
you know what I want? You know what I want to try, Mashelle? I want to try those. Actually, I have one here. The knot dolls.
Knot dolls?
Yeah. I think my reindeer ran away. Oh, there it is. Where they take the arms and they make them into knots. This one is not so much. I had one somewhere. I don't know. Where they do the arms and it's completely flat, but they keep the head all blown up. And then they do it so long, but then they tie knots to make it look like wrists and stuff.
Right.
So apparently Yarnspirations is referring to this as blankagurumi.
Because it's blanket yarn.
Yeah, because it's all blanket yarn because it goes so bloody fast.
Well, and I actually am one. I use one type of yarn and usually only one type of yarn when it comes to my amigurumi. I'm a cheap girl.
There's
Red Heart Super
there's
Saver.
nothing wrong with cheap.
Nothing wrong with it.
The Super Saver is my best. Oh, that's cute.
This would look very different if it didn't have wings and a beak. Just saying. But anyway, I met this artist that was local. She only charged $20 Canadian for this. What is $20 American dollars? Like it's like
$11, $12.
I know.
Here.
I know. And I'm like, well, I'll buy 3. And I'm like,
Yeah.
so I have a whole thing screaming pattern behind me the whole time because it's like the social media, right? Yeah, a knotted lovey. That's what they're calling it.
Knotted
lovey. So anyway, I just think the amigurumi is kind of fun.
I also like the amigurumi blankets. It's the where it's just like the head of the animal and then the blanket, so like the kid can hold onto the head. But
the lovey.
Yeah, the Loveys. It's the knot. You talked about the knotted one. This is it's a different one where the head is there and then the whole. It's just a blanket that the kids can still play with. It's like that idea that the tag blankets that the kids have something to play with.
Mm-hmm.
It's that same idea, but this way it's that head.
Mm-hmm. They were actually talking on screen. They were talking with the Llama No Drama.
I didn't see that one. I went away from social media for a couple of years, and it probably happened in that time.
I love that stupid llama. It was a lot of work. I think it chain 10 and then slip stitch, chain 10, slip stitch. It was a lot of work, but my God, it was so cute.
I'll have to look it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were a lot of fun.
I'm just saying I've never tried blanket yarn for amigurumi. I haven't either, but I love the blanket yarn. I'm really loving it. And
there's a brand new one called Patchwork that's just come out. I'm curious about that because I grew up poor, so my mom, our clothes ended up being our comforters, and so I see mismatch as a sense of comfort and not as a sense of trash. And so I'm curious about that Bernat blanket patchwork yarn because of that.
Well, and I'm also a sewer, and I've made quilts. And during the pandemic, I sewed masks and donated them to elderly homes and stuff. But did a lot of stuff in the patchwork or in different. It's like whatever. My brain is dying at the moment. Whatever fabric I had around, and sometimes it was piecing things together. But it is definitely that patchwork idea I grew up, I've said this to people before. I grew up in the wrong generation. I probably would have been better in like the 1600s as those housewives that did all the embroidery and the sewing and the crafting. And
I don't see you as a housewife.
No, I'm not at all. I mean, craft-wise, I would have fit in it with that.
Craft-wise, okay. That's
Craft-wise,
where the
I am not
similarity
that
ends.
sit at home. No,
Just
no,
ask
no.
my husband.
Yeah. So
I would have been well trained.
What's in your immediate future as we wrap up tonight's broadcast? What's next for you, Mashelle?
Tonight, I'm working on the blankets. I actually think I want to try making a Mr. Potato Head doll.
I think you should. Like, Jesus, you have them behind you.
I know, and I earlier realized I haven't made one yet, so I definitely should take the time to make one for myself. Because I make it for everybody else, I should make one for myself.
That'd be kind of cute on your desk at school, unless somebody scoffs it.
You
better put an air tag in that damn thing.
Okay, but you have to promise if you do it, you have to send us an image of it.
Definitely.
Yeah, because I have a feeling there'll be a lot of people wanting to see that Mr. Potato Head.
Definitely.
Yeah, potatoes are my favorite fruit. Love it. Oh, vegetable. It's not even a vegetable these days anymore. My God, I don't even know my food groups. I just
Let's just say potatoes are your favorite starch. How's that?
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. I love it.
Well, Mashelle, thank you.
Yeah, so Mashelle, thank you so much for spending some time with me tonight. And thank you for you've given me more comfort because I can't see what you see with the LA, because that's been really on my mind a lot, as Karen can attest to. So thank you so much for sharing that. And there's hope for humanity somewhere.
There is.
Yeah. And I think we lose sight of that because we only see what we see. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me. I've enjoyed this. And I've definitely wanted to meet you at a cruise, at a thing, a retreat. But this I think is more special.
Absolutely. So we like longer retreats, Mashelle, because I'm a size queen. But I hate the store visit stuff because you talk to somebody for 2 seconds and then they're gone and then it's the next person. I really like the retreat format because you can actually really, like, some of the people on the chat right now are people that I've met that you've gotten to sit and have an opportunity with, that you can do a side joke with, that they get it, and you know that you can throw them under the bus and they'd be laughing about it. Maybe. But I like that sense of, that's my favorite part of our events, is that we spend quality time. There was one event that somebody wanted me to be part of, and they wanted me to charge $50 to have lunch with somebody. And I said, I'll have lunch with them. I don't need $50 to sit with somebody for lunch. Like, it's just, I don't want to be that kind of host. Right. And it's just like,
it's more about the energy and the friendliness.
Yeah. Because honestly, if you're a nut job, you're just the story at the next event.
Well, I hope I wasn't the nut job.
No, don't tell Lauren I said that, though.
No. And just keep your paints to yourself, right, Christy?
Oh,
she's online too.
Christy throws her paints on the floor. Anyway,
but that's one of the reasons why.
But if it wasn't for stuff like that, that's what makes it memorable, because you can't get that in a 2-second visit. So maybe one day we'll see you. Actually, Jimmy Bean's Will was actually messaging that's what that beeping was. So we'll see if there's a retreat this year or not.
And it's close. That one's actually close to me. It's only a 10-hour drive versus flying somewhere.
Yes. Now Wendy's from California, my assistant, and she drives in.
Yeah.
I think it's 8 hours for her. Just. But she spends
anywhere.
But
yeah, it's not that bad.
We're apparently worth it. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We hope you have a great evening. I know it's still early out your time zone. It's 9:03 in my time zone.
Yeah, it's only after 5 here. I got to eat dinner still.
Oh, okay. I think it's wine time.
Yep. It's wine time. But anyway, Mashelle, such a pleasure to meet you. And I'm so glad you can join us. And Michael, I know that this is one, like, just kind of like the retreats. This is a wonderful way of getting to know people in the community and in the crowd, right? Yeah, and we're all connected. And what a great way to get to know each other, because there's little bits of each of us that somebody's going to identify with. And I think that's the joy of it all. And thank you, Mashelle, for being a part of it. And I hope that that you'll join us next week too. We do have another guest lined up to speak with Michael. I'm looking forward to that. And again, please feel free to message me. There is a registration link. I know that Wendy has been wonderful in posting that, because I do go through them, and I will, as Mashelle knows, I will contact you if it kind of works out. I am looking for people from different areas, from all over the world. Really, right now we're working with North America, but that doesn't mean we wouldn't love to talk to other people from other places as well. So we want to know about the community, right, Michael?
Absolutely. Yeah, I really do. Like, that was kind of my goal. I just didn't have the time to go and set people up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Karen's doing a good job of it for you.
Aw, you're very nice.
Yeah, that's loud and clear.
Anyway, we look forward to seeing everyone next Thursday at 8 o'clock Atlantic, 7 o'clock Eastern. Mashelle, thank you. And
thank you, Mashelle.
Thank you very much, guys, for having me.
Okay.
Yes. I want to see the Mr. Potato Head.
Definitely.
Yeah, or else. Off my list.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.